Welcome to Latte with a Lawyer, a podcast dedicated to bringing you the stories of some of America's most successful lawyers, figuring out what makes them tick, how they creatively solve problems, and how others aspiring to be them can follow in their footsteps.
Okay, folks, welcome to another episode of Latte with a Lawyer. I'm your host, Jonathan Brickman, and this afternoon we have with us Michael Barella. And let's see if I can get the name of your firm correct. Well, it says MBNB, which I'm sure stands for something a lot longer.
MBHB, actually.
MBHB, sorry.
Brad Holbert's going to be disappointed. But it's McDonald, Bain, and Holbert and Berghoff, so that's why we use the acronym.
Got it. Yeah, I was reading that, but you're right, MBHB. Okay, good. Thanks for correcting me. Anyway, thank you for spending time with us this afternoon. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Yes. So I know we're in the afternoon, but again, I got to ask you, because it's with the theme of the show, Latte with a Lawyer, what is your favorite morning beverage of choice?
That really strong cup of black coffee first thing in the morning. That's what gets me going.
Excellent. Well, I can see by your academic credentials, you've been working hard for most of your adult life, so I'm sure you need a lot of coffee.
Yeah, in the afternoons I switch over to energy drinks, but I prefer the coffee. I've been a big fan of coffee ever since grad school, really. So we're going on 30 plus years now.
Got it. Well, it looks like you've taken a pretty rigorous approach to life. You haven't been slouching, and I'm sure you needed plenty of coffee to keep going.
On most days, yes.
Yeah, I would think so. So tell us what kind of work you do these days.
So I'm a patent attorney, and I've been practicing as an outside counsel for 15 years now, give or take. And I came to be a patent attorney through a rather unusual route, in that I was actually working in software engineering and hardware engineering for about 10 to 12 years before that, and working my way up the ladder in the corporate world. And I kind of got to a point where a number of things happened all at the same time. And I had this opportunity to switch over into patent law. And believe it or not, I actually had met a bunch of attorneys who I really liked. I thought were great people. So I decided to go ahead and make the transition. I did that, like I said, about 15 years ago, and it's been smooth sailing ever since.
That's an interesting switch. So I didn't realize that in your background. So you actually were a software engineer for a bunch of years.
Right. I was doing more architecting than software, because I came in with a certain academic background. So they wanted me to write the design documents and do the overall product design. And then I would pass those on to the software engineers who would develop and then test the software. I didn't do a lot of coding myself, except for in projects here and there. Okay. Most of it like oversight and architecture and working with marketing and sales to get the products out the door.
Interesting. So what was your PhD in? What was your focus?
Yeah, I focused on optical networking, wavelength division multiplexing, which my advisor would hate to hear this, but I really never did anything with it after grad school. I just kind of hit the reset button once I got done with the degree and moved on to other things.
Yeah, but you picked that obviously because there was some focus and interest, right? Where'd you get that interest from?
Well, part of it was a big thing at UC Davis at the time in the early 90s. And my advisor in particular, he was a rising star at that point. He was a young professor. He was bringing in a lot of grant money. And there was a lot of interest from the government to help develop these technologies. And so he hired me as a research assistant. And so all of my projects in one way or another had to revolve around the grant that we were working on. And there was a lot of really interesting problems to solve. So I did that for a while. But then once I got out on my own, I found that there was all kinds of really interesting things going on. These are the early days of the web, like 1995. So Amazon was a new company, and the dot-com boom was just starting. So there were so many other things going on at that point in time that I just decided to expand and just learn whatever I thought was the most useful.
Yeah, interesting. So, I mean, how has that helped you in your career as a patent attorney?
Well, I think having the academic background helps a lot, because some of my clients now are university professors. Like two of the bigger clients that I work with are universities.
What schools?
And, one of them is UIUC, Illinois.
Okay.
And one is University of Chicago. And so that means that if they have a professor who's developed a really complex technology with a lot of mathematics and loads of equations, but there's an invention somewhere in there, they can hand it over to someone like me, and I'll dig in and figure out how to do it. Assuming, and I might have to learn a lot because all of this stuff that they're doing is new, but I don't mind doing that. That's part of the fun.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's the tech transfer group, right? Where they're coming up with all these great ideas. Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm very familiar with that. I used to work in higher ed and got involved. I'm a graduate of Carnegie Mellon engineering degree. So obviously they're producing lots of businesses and patents and things like that. So very, very, very interesting. So I've talked to a few patent attorneys on this program, and see, it's kind of a prerequisite, isn't it, to have that strong background to do that kind of work you're doing?
For the most part, yes. You do need to have at least a bachelor's in a science or in engineering. And some people, if you want to do patent litigation or more transactional work, you don't actually need the degree. I mean, you can go into patent litigation with any degree, because at the end of the day, you're litigating, and it's kind of a different set of skills that are required. But if you really want to understand the invention at a core level, you do need technical people in your firm on your litigation. And so at our firm, everybody is a patent agent. They pass the patent bar exam. And to sit for the patent bar exam, you have to have at least the degree or the appropriate background to be a patent attorney.
Oh, okay, interesting. So, so everybody is pretty technical, their background?
Right. At my firm, I don't know the exact numbers, but a large proportion of our attorneys have either a master's or a PhD, in addition to a science or engineering bachelor's degree.
Yeah. So, I mean, is it typical to have a terminal degree or PhD in science for people that are doing patent work? I mean, what's the percentage that would?
I don't have the statistics at hand. I would say that in the life sciences, it's much more important to have the advanced degree.
Yeah.
Because my partners who are in life sciences, most of them do have PhDs. Where I am in engineering, it's a bit more rare. It's not required, and some of the best EE computer science patent attorneys I know just have bachelor's degrees.
Okay.
They just are really, really bright people, and they learn very quickly. So the advanced degree is not required, but it does help in certain scenarios, like if you need to really understand how the guts of a machine learning invention is working compared to all of the tons of other inventions that are already out there, then having that background really, really does make a difference.
Oh, why? Because of the research nature of it, trying to understand it?
Right, because you really have to dig into, you have to have a good sense of how the field has evolved over the last 50 or 60 years, because machine learning has been around for a long time in theory, and the practice has only arisen in the last 10 to 15. And also just to decode what the invention is all about, to be able to talk to the inventor using a language that you both understand. And if they're coming at it from way up here and you don't have that background, it's really hard to connect and fully appreciate what the invention truly is.
Got it. Okay. So becoming a lawyer, and particularly a patent lawyer, was just happenstance. I mean, that's not what you start out to be.
Yeah, it was something that if someone came to me early in my career and said, you're going to be a patent attorney someday, I would have laughed so hard, because the thought of that was so far from my mind. But somewhere it was probably around 2005, 2006. I was still working in industry, and I'd been working with attorneys in MBHB for several years, and I had gotten to know them and struck up personal relationships with a handful. And one of them came to me and said, if you ever want to be a patent attorney, we would hire you and put you through law school, and you could, take the patent bar exam, become a patent agent, and then an attorney. And I said, well, I'm not really interested in it at that time. But a couple of years later, a bunch of things hit at the same time. I was at a startup. We had just sold the company to Research in Motion. And I decided I didn't want to go work for them for a number of reasons.
BlackBerry. That was BlackBerry, right?
Yeah. They were the Apple of the day, but they were right at their peak in 2007. It was right as the first iPhone came out.
Yeah, that's right.
they had that kind of arrogance of a market leader, and they said like, well, Apple's not going to beat BlackBerry. There's no way they're ever going to do that. And so, in one of the few prescient moments I had in my career, I said, I think these guys are wrong. And I decided I didn't want to go work for them, but I didn't want to pick up my family and move somewhere else either, because I had some job offers out on the coasts. And, we're here in Chicago. I had 2 little kids at the time. And I thought, this is a bit disruptive. And then there was an illness in my family and I had to take care of another family member. So I was really rooted in Chicago. And so then when the folks at MBHP came back and spoke to me again, I listened very carefully, and then I eventually accepted the offer because I thought, this is great. I can stay here in Chicago. I can take care of my kids, take care of my family. And I've got this law firm that's going to put faith in me and stick with me through 3 to 4 years of law school and pay me to do that, which I thought was great.
That's amazing. Yeah. What a story, the BlackBerry story. I mean, they had it, right? It was theirs to lose and they lost it. It's amazing, right? I mean, everybody, it was almost like, Xerox is to copying, BlackBerry was to, handheld device, right? Everybody had a BlackBerry.
Yeah, and they were, clearly the most advanced device on the market for quite a while. I mean, we did a lot of programming at the startup on these like very low end, they weren't even smartphones. They were just like, those like old flip phones, right? And they were so hard to program. It was so hard to develop applications on them. Yeah. And BlackBerry, it was so much easier. And then, of course, when iPhone and Android came out, then they took it to a whole new level.
Yeah, forget it. So would you have had to, they're in Waterloo, aren't they, in Canada?
Yeah, well, they were going to keep a Chicago office, and they eventually did. They kept most of the people in Chicago. They moved them to a new office, and then they shut the whole thing down a couple of years later.
I see. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, they're still around, but it's I mean, I always look at they're great case studies, right? Because like Wang Computer, or like they were leading the pack, and they just stopped innovating, and they were just run over.
Yeah, well, I worked, if you remember 3Com or US Robotics, right?
Yes, oh yeah, sure, in Chicago, absolutely.
Yeah, so US Robotics was the modem company for quite a while in the 90s.
Yeah.
If you went out to like a Best Buy and you wanted to buy a modem, dial-up modem, it was probably going to be a US Robotics modem or someone that had copied US Robotics. And they were really good at doing that one thing, making modems. And as soon as the modem market died off, when broadband kicked up, and now the modems are no longer dial-up, now they're cable or DSL or some other form of connection, the whole business fell apart. They could never make that transition, and they knew, and I know this because I was there at the time, they knew that their lunch was getting eaten, but they also had this cash cow that they could make a couple billion a year just by stocking the shelves with modems. And so there wasn't enough gumption in senior management to say, we need to like eat our own children here and move on to this new product line. They just couldn't do it.
They just cashed out. They took the cash and just let it die. Yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah, interesting stuff. So if you can give me an example, like categorically, like a case that you're working on that's really interesting, or one you worked on. Curious to hear an example.
Oh boy, I don't do a lot of litigation these days. Most of the work that I do is transactional. Okay. So I'll get back to that. I did work on a couple of cases, and I do consult on some now. But most of what I do is I work with large software companies, and mostly large companies, but I've got a handful of startup clients as well. And they hire me and my team to help them develop and manage their patent portfolios. So let's say you've got some enterprise software company out in Silicon Valley. They're going to file, 200, 300 patent applications per year. They're going to hire my firm. They're going to hire maybe another firm or 2 firms. And they're going to distribute the work out to us and then rely on us to essentially run with that, to work with the inventors, to draft the applications, file them with the patent office, work on the mailings back and forth and the arguments between us and the patent office until the patent hopefully gets allowed, or in some cases it doesn't, but most of the time it does. Yeah. That's most of what I do. There's a ton of work out there, more than enough to keep me and the team busy these days.
Oh, interesting. So, I mean, is when you throw that number like 200, 300, is that how many patents that a software company would file?
Yeah, let's say a software company with a scale of 9 figures
Hmm.
revenues, a couple billion, few billion a year, 200 to 300 is per year is not out of the question.
Wow. No kidding. Yeah. So, I mean, I've done some work with some of these early stage software companies, and I mean, maybe they have one or two
Yeah.
patents. I mean, not them, but would they hire a firm like yours to work on that?
Yeah, actually, some of them do. And so I have a handful of larger clients, but I've got at any one point in time, I'm usually working with about a dozen startups.
Oh,
And none of them is giving me a steady stream of work, but when you combine them all together, it
yeah.
actually is a pretty steady stream of
What
work.
do you enjoy more? Do you like this? I would imagine you like the startup stuff, right? It's interesting.
It's all interesting. It's a different challenge because working with the larger companies, it's volume work. So you really have to focus on being efficient. And they're not putting all their eggs in one basket. They're spreading their risk around by patenting, here, 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 and here, a bunch of different areas, different product lines. And so it's more about the management of the process. And a lot of my role is to make sure everything is getting out there properly docketed. The associates are all assigned to work that they can do, and they're getting it done on time. And I'm reviewing what they're doing and making sure that it's all technically correct and taking care of that, making sure none of the deadlines are getting missed. With startups, it's much more the Wild West. It's
Yeah.
like someone will call me up on a Sunday afternoon and say, "Hey, can we file a patent tomorrow?" And then you do what you can to help them out. Sometimes you drop everything and you go ahead and take care of that. But also the startups are for the most part, much more focus on the quality of because each individual patent is so much more important to them.
Right. Right.
Budget for one patent a year or two patents a year. So you want to put your best foot forward and give them everything that they need in those one or two patents.
Got it. Interesting. Yeah. 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 No, it's interesting. And these are technical patents as opposed to like utility patents, or could they be both?
Well, there's only like three different types of patents, right? There's utility patents. That's what we normally think of as a patent. It's
Yeah.
like a device or a machine. It does something useful. Then
Yep.
there are plaid patents, which I'll admit I know very little about because I'm not a botanist. And then there's design patents, which are ornamental designs. So you can think of the shape of a bottle, the shape of a classic Coke bottle, or something.
Okay. Okay. So yeah. Okay. Got it. Okay. Obviously I'm showing my ignorance here, but I thought like, like a workflow, for example, like patenting some kind of a workflow, which is not necessarily, software development. It's more, does that make sense? I mean, is there a distinction between that?
Well, that would be characterized as a process patent, and that falls under this ambit of utility patents.
Oh, it does. Okay. Got it.
Yeah, so utility patents can be devices or they can be processes.
Okay.
Right? And there's also, if you do chemistry, there's compositions of matter and so on, but it's really devices or processes in my practice. And so almost all software at some level is a process. And so that's one of the things that,
True.
but you can also claim software from the point of view of the hardware that it runs on. So you can claim it as a device or you can claim it as a process. We usually.
Okay. So let's say that you find someone infringing on your patent. Do those things go? Do you try those cases? I mean, how does that work? Do you litigate them? Do you get involved with that?
Yeah, we do. And so there are a number of partners at my firm who do a lot more litigation than I do. Some of them do litigation full time and nothing else, and others kind of skip back and forth between litigation and more transactional work. I'm much more on the transactional side, but when a case comes up, let's say one of my clients comes to me and says, "Hey, these guys are ripping us off. Here's their product and here's what we've learned about it." Then I'll take that to one of my partners who do litigation, and we'll sit down together and figure out, okay, do we have a case here? Right? And if we're not sure, what other information do we need to build that case? And once we've gone through all of those exercises and we've convinced ourselves that we have a viable case, Then we go back to the client. We start talking about, okay, this is what we can do. This is how long it's going to take. This is how much it's going to cost. How do you want to proceed?
Got it. And those aren't jury trials ever, are they?
Yeah, they are. Now, a lot of patent cases never get to the jury because they're either decided on the pleadings or on summary judgment. And honestly, the cost of a patent trial is so expensive, there is a motivation to settle.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Early. And so it's rare to go to jury trial, but it does happen. And they usually last about, 2 to 3 weeks.
And I would imagine there's a lot of money at stake.
Yeah, if you're going to go to jury, I mean, you're probably talking at least, tens of millions of dollars.
Okay, interesting. So you do try cases from time to time. Yeah, so that would be quite interesting, I suppose, because you got a very technical product that you're in front of a layman jury, right?
And a layperson judge in many cases.
And a layperson judge, correct.
Right. I mean, imagine trying to explain quantum computing to an English.
Well, to anyone, mostly.
That's true. Even I'm not quite sure I understand it. A lot of physicists don't understand it. But the point is that a lot of federal judges are actually really bright, and they do try really hard to learn this stuff. I mean, the vast majority of them, by the time they actually write their opinion, they have figured out the technology at a reasonable level. And the same for juries as well. And our job is to communicate that. And this is where a little bit of teaching is involved, where you say, okay, this looks really complicated, but let's focus just on these aspects over here. And they're analogous to maybe something you've seen before. And so we try to walk the layperson through the technology in a way that they can understand. We try to bring it to them as much as possible.
Yeah, no, I would imagine that. I mean, otherwise there's no way you can get them to opine on the case. Right. You have to break it down to very simple terms.
Right.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. It'd be interesting to watch one of those. So in your field, I mean, what do you think makes you good or successful what you're doing?
Well, I think a lot of the success that I've had, I feel like I've stumbled across it. A lot of it has been being in the right place at the right time, and also coming into the field a little bit later in life. Because I had about 15, 20 years to build up relationships before I even started law school. And so the number of the clients that I have, I would say at least half a dozen, are former colleagues, people I used to work with who've gone off to a new company or started their own company. And then at some point, they said to themselves, gee, I really think we need a patent application. Who do I know as a patent attorney? Oh, yeah, and then they give me a call. And so that's been one way of developing business. Law school classmates. I was a halfway decent student in law school, and so a couple of my law school classmates have either gone in-house and they've brought, or they let me bring them on as clients, or they've referred people over to me. So it's really just a mix of different things. And then, of course, as any good attorney knows, if you do a great job for one client and you make them really happy, they're going to refer all their friends to you.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And so it's happened to me a couple of times now. I've been fortunate enough that I've made, several people happy, and then, I've gotten an influx of new work because of that.
Yeah. Are you responsible for bringing in business too, your own business? Yeah.
Right. I pretty much have, I'm not completely disassociated from the other firm clients. I help out my partners where and when they need it. And I have shared clients with partners as well. But a lot of what I've done, I've brought in myself. It's pretty isolated. It's like running your own business within the firm. And our firm is very hands-off when it comes to these things. And each partner has a lot of autonomy in how they run his or her business. And so it's been a lot of fun. I mean, if you like the business side of running a law firm, really, it's been great for me because of that.
Yeah. How many attorneys at the firm?
I got about 55.
55. Is that a typical patent attorney law practice?
Patent firms, patent boutiques, as we like to call ourselves for some reason.
Yeah.
They start small, like 1 or 2 attorneys, and they can go up to a couple of hundred. And then there's also patent attorneys that are within a larger firm. So your general practice firms sometimes also have a division of patent law as well. But for patent boutiques, I mean, we're probably mid-sized. You know, there's probably like 4 or 5 other firms in Chicago that are similarly sized as
Oh,
us.
okay. I would imagine a lot are on the West Coast just because that's where yeah. Or maybe Boston, East Coast stuff.
Yeah, it's like the major cities on the East Coast: New York, Boston, DC, the Research Triangle area in North Carolina. There's a lot of density of patent attorneys there. And of course, the West Coast, I mean, there's a ton of Silicon Valley firms, Seattle-based firms, and so on.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. So how much, being a technology guy, I mean, how much technology does your firm use to run the practice?
Yeah, we've actually been ramping up in that quite a bit. I mean, in the last few years, we've modernized our IT systems, our docketing systems, our accounting systems. So we're always looking at what can we do to try to reduce the amount of manual labor that's involved in our processes. So, you know, the old days, everything was on paper, and you'd have paralegals that just kind of opened up, you know, envelopes and copied things and transcribed things. And nowadays everything's electronic, and so there's not as much of a need to do that. And so we have our paralegals doing, I would say, like more highly cognitive tasks, such as we have some that are really good at patent office procedure, and so they might know things that I don't know, because if some weird quirk comes up that I've never seen before, I might go to a paralegal and they can figure it out. Or they're doing, you know, management of just, you know, requests for spreadsheets or requests for data from clients. We rely on our assistants and paralegals to do that as well.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. And of course, everyone uses Zoom now. And I mean, since COVID, I mean, a lot of the stuff is accelerated. I mean, are there things now that you're doing because of COVID that you will continue to do in the post-COVID era?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I'm a bit surprised about is how few of my clients have actually gone back to the office.
Huh.
And I used to go out to California and travel, you know, once a month, once every 2 months, to either do speaking engagements or to do face-to-face meetings with clients or prospective clients. And that's completely shut down since COVID. I have not taken one trip, and I'm a bit surprised about it. I thought by now things would be ramping back up, but it really hasn't. So, you know, we're even our firm, you know, we have a total of about 130 people, you know, the 55 attorneys,
Sure.
and then a number of law clerks and support staff and so on. And probably on any given day, there's only 15 or 20 in the office right now.
Oh, no kidding. You think that'll persist?
I think it's slowly going to ramp up as, you know, we get to the point where, you know, COVID is just sort of like a background nuisance.
Yeah.
But right now there's just too many people who think that, you know, it's an existential risk. And, you know, do you really, especially in Chicago, because you take public transportation everywhere.
Right.
The road,
That's right.
nobody wants to spend 2 hours commuting each way, and nobody wants to sit in a train, you know, a poorly ventilated train car for 45 minutes either.
Exactly. Although it's not cold anymore. I know what it's like to be on the loop in the middle of the winter.
That's true.
I lived in Chicago for about 3.5 years, so I'm familiar with that. Yeah.
I don't live here for the weather.
No. You definitely don't. You live there for the summer on the lake, which is beautiful. Yeah. The whole place opens up.
And that one week in the fall where it's like 60 degrees.
Yeah. No, it's a great city. What part of the city you live in?
I actually live outside the city, so I'm out in the western suburbs.
Okay. Which one?
Naperville.
Got it. That's way out, right? That's about an hour outside.
It's about 40-45 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about 30 miles from the loop.
Oh, it's only 30? Okay. Yeah, my brother lived in Frankfurt for a while.
Yeah, it's just south of here.
Yeah. But I live in the north side. I live in the north side, and then I lived in Evanston for about 3 years. It's but anyway, Chicago's a great city. Anyway, all right. Well, listen, this has been great. If somebody wants to get in touch with you and learn more about your business, what's the best way for them to connect?
Well, the best way to check out what I do is to go to our website, which is mbhb.com. So it's like Michael Boy Howard Boy.com.
Okay.
You know, check out my profile on the firm website, and it's got all my contact info. So if anybody wants to get in touch, they can do that pretty easily right from there.
Excellent. Well, good. So thanks again. We've had Michael Barella from MBHB. Your partner's not going to be upset. In a patent attorney in Chicago. And this is sponsored by EmotionTrac. And we are a legal tech firm that uses AI to help litigators learn insights for case prep and mediation. Thank you very much, Michael. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
You bet.